In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to mirror polygons as well as merge vertexes. So you can see that I'm working on the chair that we were doing in class now for the last sort of day or so. Now what I'm going to do is, rather than me model the entire thing, I could just model half of it and then mirror it aside. You can see from the chair in the background here that both sides are pretty much symmetrical and there's no real uniqueness on one side compared to the other. So rather than me having to waste time modeling the entire thing, it'd probably just be a lot easier for me to cut it in half and then mirror it across. Now, to mirror any polygons, make sure you're in object mode, which is hold the right mouse button and go to object mode like so. Once you're in object mode, hold shift, hold the right mouse button. Now, just like with the extrude faces tool, you'll see you have various different options and tools that you can go for. We're not going to focus on any of these, we're going to go right here at the bottom. So I believe it's the 6th, 7th one down, which is mirror polygon. Now, like the name suggests, it's basically the mirroring tool, so it makes basically half a copy or a copy on one side of the axis or the other. So you can see you have plus x minus x plus y minus y, etc. And again, x, y, and z are obviously the axes. So you can see here that plus x would be on the right hand side, and if you're going away from the x, that would be minus. So you'll see here in a second. So you'll see, yeah, it's made a mirror of this object in the x-axis in the plus, because you can see that x is pointing in the right hand direction, so that would be plus. If we're going on the other side, that would be minus. Now obviously we can't mirror it like right now because we haven't really cut this model in half. Sure, the top half is actually halved, but the base of the chair itself is still pretty much whole, so you can see why we can't really use this in order to make it a whole chair. So we want to cut it in half, and the best way to do that is to go to Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop, make sure you are in the tool settings, which is this icon up here. Or what you can do is double click on the Insert Edge Loop tool here, then go to Multiple Edge Loops and change this to 1, because that will create an edge loop that's right in the middle of your model. So you can see, even though I cut this section in half, there's equal spacing on both sides. And no matter where I move my mouse, that edge loop will always go right in the middle. So once the edge loop's in the middle, I'm going to go to Faces, select all the faces on one half, then delete. Make sure you go back to object mode. Now I'm going to delete one of these faces here because I'm going to explain about merging vertexes and why you need to delete the faces on one side. So I'm going to go to object mode, hold shift, right mouse button, mirror polygons, plus X. So you can see it's pretty much mirrored exactly on the other side, and it looks pretty okay so far. Again, these parts are a little bit spaced out, but we can bring them together. So we'll start with this bottom part here. So to bring them together, rather than me moving this to one side, we want to make sure that we can just select both faces, press R, and then just use the x-axis to bring them together. Now these two parts are still separate, so we need to merge them into one object. In order to do that, we need to merge the vertexes. Now we can't really tell that there's two vertexes on top of each other. Now in order to know if there is one vertex overlapping with another, we need to turn on the polygon count. To do that, you go to Display, Heads Up Display, and if you scroll right down to around here, you'll see it says polygon count. Just turn that on. Now this displays all the information about how many vertexes are in the scene: edges, faces, triangles. That's basically if you cut the squares in half, the faces in half to make them into tris, and the UVs as well. Now on this side, it tells us the entire scene, about the total vertexes, edges, and faces. But if I select it, you'll see we have some different values here. This basically tells us the total vertexes, edges, faces of that particular object we selected. And if I go to the faces and select this one face, you'll see that it will tell us how many faces, tris, are on that one particular face. So if I go to vertexes, and it's a little bit hard to see right now because of the image, so I'll just turn it around. So if I just click and drag across here, you'll see that this tells us that there are indeed two vertexes on top of each other. So if I just click and drag, select those two vertexes, you can now merge them by holding down Shift, the right mouse button, merge vertices, and go to merge vertices. So you'll see now that's changed to one. So if I click and drag around here again, you'll see now that it will say one vertex. You see here it says 7. So again, if I hold Shift, merge vertices, it'll be 4. So I'm going to do the same up here. So we can see that even though it looks like there's only 4 vertexes there, there is indeed 8 in total. So if I go to hold Shift, right mouse button, merge vertices, we can see that they've been merged together, and now there's only 4. So if I go to Edge, double click, you can see now if I move it around, if I delete it, that is now just one face rather than being two faces or two separate objects. But you'll notice here that even though I do double click, nothing really changes that much. I can't really select the entire edge loop. Why? Because we still have those faces underneath. Now you don't want two faces overlapping each other, and there's a reason for that which I'll talk about in a future video. But just make sure that you have those faces deleted. So now I can double click and I can move that edge loop around, and I can delete that edge loop as well. So that's how to merge vertices and also to mirror polygons.